And I am back. Sorry for not having posted in a week. Thank you, JKid196 for subbing. But why didn't I hear the noise? There should be a noise attached to this. I'm gonna have to look at that at some after stream. I should have been uploading videos while I'm gone. That was the idea. That did not happen. Because I found a creative outlet. And my brain said, we're gonna have to focus on this until we're done. And we are done. And I'm gonna show you. I should have had this prepared. I'm not a professional streamer. Move that there. Close that here. What I've been doing, okay, let's start from the beginning. Me and my friends have been talking about doing some RPG, tabletop RPG. But we're no. For me, it's been 15 years, no, 20 years, maybe even, until last time I even attempted to play a role-playing game seriously. I've dabbled like once or twice, one-offs, but for a prolonged period. It's been 20 years, I think. God. No, it can't be 20 years. And then, never mind, my math is completely off. It's 10 years. It's not 15 years, 10 years. There we go. I'm a smart boy. Anyway. So my brain has been delving into this lately, and I discovered, well, not so much discovered, but rediscovered. And so, hey, Blaze, it was yesterday. Awesome. Like, which system? Because I rediscovered Mörkeborg. I've heard about it. I've read about D&D. Of course, it's D&D. D&D is my least favorite type of systems. It might be the best of the ones, but the type of system, it is too much. I want to role play. I don't want to role play. You know, it's... Oh, give me five D3s of damage. No, stop it. Roll, yeah, exactly. And D&D is the former. Mörkeborg is the latter, and it's dark and gritty, and the characters are meant to die, so you're allowed to play a lot of different things. You're not stuck to one character that you have to retire in the woods when it becomes too powerful for some reason. Stuff like that. You know, it's I like this type of gaming more. Where like it's quick, it's dirty, and you get to improvise more. The rule of cool can be applied more. Sorry, and in the Mörkeborg system, it is always meant to be cyclical. So after a certain amount of time, you have you roll a die every so often. I think every day you roll a die. And depending on how big die you choose in the beginning, you decide how long this world is going to exist. So if you choose to roll a 1... because that's always, so you have to roll a 1 every evening, and if you do that, something terrible will happen. that will prolong the story or move the universe forward to its doom. And if you choose a 100 die, like it's once every 3 months or so, you get to play. If you choose a 1d2, yeah, that's gonna be every other night. So you can choose how long, how many missions you can actually go on and stuff like that. And then the universe crumbles and you're forced to start over. I think that's more. You're allowed to delve deeper into the world building. You're allowed to just improvise more in that setting than a D&D campaign that stretches you for years after years after years. Some people are playing the same campaign 10 years later. I don't understand that. That is too much for me. Plus, with this type of system, this more short-lived scenarios, people can come and go a little. Oh, you might not have time this period in your life. Well, you don't have to come and play. Your characters died. We can move on. It happens every day. Unlike with traditional role playing, and this is a critique on most role playing systems. If your friend group is not aligned in how much they can play each year, like every 2 weeks, every week, every once a month, you have to set up a week during your holiday. So I don't know, whatever amount, your group has to always be in sync in that type of game. They don't have to in this type of game where it's more short-lived. But okay, so I rediscovered this, and then because I like the futuristic more than I like the past, they have Cyborg, which is a cyberpunk version of Mörkborg. And I read this book and I devoured it. Did you hear that? Give me a moment. Jag kommer i alla fall. Jag visste inte att det skulle komma ens. Ringde inte efter det ikväll? Ringde du till mycket kanske? Jag var osäker. Det var Klara lagt in på Riksbanken lite grann. Är det fel lägenhet? Jag tror att det är fel lägenhet. Holman står det på åren. Märkligt. Men vad står det? Har du anmält att Klara i köket läcker? Nej, men kan kolla på det. Jaha. Men det står här och... Ibland händer, men det är väldigt sällsynt att vi får fel order. Vi får ordarna i mobil. Ja. Onekligen står det Holman 16C, men då är det kolla med kundcenter. Ja. Det var ju drastiskt att det sitter ner. Ja, det byter vi ofta i packning och sånt. Alltså det är bara jättekul att du var hemma då. Ja, men precis. För denna ringde till sa jag att det får gå med huvudet mycket också då, så då har jag gått till, men det var inte så jävla märkligt. Men det här... Då har du förstått att det var fel. Nej, det är inga problem. Det var ingen katastrof direkt. Ja, det är bra. Jag var på P-fladen och hade den här infladen. Nej, jag missade det bara. Jag känner till här lite stundsnär sådär. Ja. Så det är bra, men han har en till grupp som håller på att köra nu i någonstans där det står en mindre skala. Men vi får liksom... Ja, han stundsnär och sådana andra figurer. Jag minns inte riktigt så det är det här. Men det är nytt tydligen. Ja då. Ha det bra. Tack så mycket. I don't know if you guys could hear that. I guess you could, because I didn't mute me. I thought that was going to be like, my hair is a mess. That was going to be like 10 seconds in and out. Nope, of course not. Of course not. God, my hair. Look at my hair. What is it? What is this? I've got no product in my hair. That's why it's so... Give me a second. I can't look like this. Oh, just need to remove the static electricity. No, for those who don't understand Swedish, he was the maintenance man. He had gotten a call from the main office saying my crane, the crane in my kitchen was leaking. I'm like, you're in the wrong house, buddy. He's like, it's the right name here. I'm like, yep, but it's the wrong house. Sorry. Like if it's D instead of B or something, maybe. Anyways, where was I? Right, I was. So I thought this is probably a lot of fun, and I read this, devoured it. I was looking around for some world building, and I'm like, this is kind of. It's evocative, and it gave me an idea for a women's magazine in this type of world. What would that look like? So I created Simopolitan. Let me zoom out. There we go. Simopolitan. From runner to corpo, your guide. Latest in RCD fashion. RCD is retinal comm device. It's an integrated comms system. Don't let your... What? Oh my god, I've got an error. This should be don't let your style error out your fashion? Something like that. Never mind. Work the best way to stave off... What the fuck? This is also cut off. No. Oh, anyways. And then I have an interview here. This is completely AI generated, the background image, and then I've added the glitch effect. And the same with this. It's the only way I could think of to have the same person, in theory, be in the article. Like I couldn't generate the same person in multiple positions. I don't know how to do that. I could do this though. So I did that. And then I have an entire interview with, like, I went to ChatGPT and I trained it to respond in this person's voice. So I asked questions and then I directed the the AI a bit in what type of words she would use, what she wouldn't say, and stuff like that. And then after a few hours with that, I started the interview. I repeated the interview entirely just to see, just get a different outcome and maybe a better wording and stuff like that. So I did that. So everything you see in CYM, which is Simopolitan, is my language, and everything you see with PAS is the AI. So I basically create an AI to interview an AI. And then top 5 positions your boss will love you for. It is what it is. It is exactly what you think it is. I'm not going to write that stuff. So instead you have to become a premium member to read that. The things you can benefit from, according to this, like it's a dystopian. There's no unions. There's no work laws surrounding work. Oh, you don't want to please your boss? Get out. And then I thought, you know what? What else would be in this world? Ads, of course. And what would the ads be of? And so I made the ads, and IKEA, which you can probably guess is IKEA, is the same corporation that she runs. So I'm like trying to integrate the world a little, make it. You're not gonna get to interview her if you're critical of her, and you're not gonna be critical of her if your magazine is dependent on her. Work the best way to stave off Rage. Little unlegible here. Oh, never mind. Cyberage is a thing in the universe. I trained the AI to write an article about this, and I pretty much, like, there's some research being done here, and interestingly enough, Sci Medical Journal was the invention of the AI. I didn't tell it to write that. It wrote that itself. I did tell it the city of Psy, of course. Yeah, and then I instructed the AI on what exactly Cyberage is and what the research showed. Like such like this, it has a employees who work in such environments, which is like oppressing environments, have a 1% lower risk of developing Cyberage, which is okay. So you're getting the positive message of work hard and you'll be safer. You know, it is to your benefit to be exploited to the highest degree. The research attributed this to the controlling nature of the workplace, which forces employees to focus on their work and suppress any potential outburst of Cyberage. They read on. However, for those who can afford it, which is nobody, a vacation is the ultimate solution. The same study found that those who took a vacation had a staggering 53% decrease in their risk of Cyberage. Should be developing Cyberage. While it's true that creative work and more freedom can be ideal for preventing Cyberage, there is value in menial and repetitive work as well. In fact, studies have shown that having a sense of routine and structure in one's work can be beneficial for mental health. It can provide a sense of stability and purpose that may be lacking in more open-ended jobs. Additionally, mastering a repetitive task can be a source of pride and accomplishment, which can boost self-esteem and overall well-being. I like this. It really speaks as a corporation who's just trying to feed you propaganda. Work hard, it's good for you. While the idea of being constantly monitored and micromanaged may seem suffocating to some, the reality is it can provide a much-needed defense against the debilitating effects of Cyberage. So the next time your boss is breathing down your neck or your workload seems overwhelming, remember, it's all in the name of your health and well-being. I think I don't remember exactly. I think I prompted it to write something with a positive spin on the end or something like that. And this is what it produced, which I just love. And then more, a companion's guide to getting that promotion. Like, if you want, come on, you have to pay for it. You know it. But I'm not going to write it. Don't let your style error out your senses. There we go. And it just talks about the AI really wanted to explain what an RCD is. And I'm like, don't stop. Sir, stop. In this world, everyone has an RCD. Everyone knows what an RCD is. But I really wanted to do it, and I had to tell it like 3-4 times. Do not explain what an RCD is, for the love of Christ. And honestly, at some points, you wanted to type out thanks. I wanted to punch myself for that. It is a tool, and I'm using that tool. I should not thank it. There's not a brain behind it. It's such an instinct when we're looking at something that is so similar to us, or it feels similar to us. Like a cat or a dog don't understand thanks, right? But we tell it to them because we recognize that there's some similarity here. When you hand it to me, I'm saying thanks. I'm the bigger being here, but I am thanking you for doing your part. It's genuine. And in the same way, it feels like there's something there, like there's a dog there or something, but there's not. It is just a word association game or a prediction game. That's all it is. There was something. I don't know if this article was really that great. I honestly, it spit this out. I'm like, great. I haven't read it. I don't care that much. I think I directed it for like 2-3 generations or something of the same text. But then there's more ads. And I'm like, I'm not the greatest layout like this. I can't do that. This layout was completely AI generated. So thank you for that. But yeah, I'm rather pleased by this. And because I was so pleased by it, I put it out here. So everyone can download it if they want to and read it for themselves or do whatever. I don't know if there's going to be a second edition. I don't think so. This was a fun one-off, if anything. But yeah, if it's popular enough, if I get inspiration for a second one and I can't get that second one out of my head, maybe because this was more of a test of AI for me. I wanted to explore if it's possible and maybe how hard would it be to generate a website where you can either ask for a certain article, and I'm talking specifically, cyberpunk universe, like a website for that specifically, as a tool to generate articles, and you can give it some certain prompts, which it has an extensive knowledge of, and it can generate. So you have to create a little world. You have to write like a book of information about this world, probably, and the roles and the social aspects of the world, and then you can ask it for news events within that world, and yeah. So this was the first test towards that. If I'm inspired to take it to the next level, who knows? But that was my idea, and then it devolved into this because this was the level I could I could manage it for. But okay, close this. There was something here, I believe. Okay. One other thing why I haven't been putting out videos is because the story of Steven Crowder is just going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and there's more and there's more. Last stream, we had his explanation first and then the reality. But now he has come back with a counter demand or counter video. Steven Crowder response. Okay. Louder with Crowder. Really? I have to go to Rumble? Or maybe Twitter. Was it a Twitter video? Come on. Where? Where is it? I heard all about the Crowder stuff. He puts dicks on coworkers. Yeah, exactly. Why don't we? Okay. I'm not gonna dredge on because everyone has covered everything about Steven Crowder. I just wanted the video of him threatening his.
And we've seen this throughout our lives where you'd like.
I think it's this.
Agreed upon lie. But it's an agreed upon lie. And we've seen this throughout our lives where you'd like to think, well, hold on, there must be some truth to it. Okay. Some truth to lockdowns? Help.
No, okay. It's not it. That's not it. Okay, never mind. He threatens his wife with legal action that he's gonna expose all her health mental health issues and stuff like that, and nothing that really is gonna exonerate whatever he's done, nothing that's gonna make his life any better or make him look any better. It's not gonna help him in any way, shape, or form. All it's gonna do is put a target on her back. All of a sudden, all of the right wing can go, oh, we can't trust her. You've seen it with your own eyes, but we can't trust her. Why? Well, because she has a history of schizophrenia. Okay? I saw how you treated her. Yeah, but she has a history of schizophrenia. And? Like, what is he going to prove with that? What he did was justified? But then, of course, someone comes out with an article talking about how he puts his balls on everybody. Like, everybody gets to see his balls. Christian values Crowder, not gay Crowder. He puts his balls on every other male coworker's face. But he's not gay, guys. He's not gay. He's not playing around with his gayness. Okay? Remember that. That is very important. He's not gay. He's so masculine. He works out so often because he wants those muscles. Because he's not gay. Okay, I've said my piece. Why don't we go
chat with you
directly to Oli London versus Ethan Klein. Begin.
Nice to see you. I like your outfit. Very French with the hat.
Oh, thank you so much. And I think you look wonderful too. We're kind of doing the same thing with our hats, aren't we?
Wasn't planned, but yeah.
Let me see your profile. Turn to the side. Let me see how it's looking.
Oh, I've actually quit surgery.
No. I mean the beanie. I'm not commenting on your surgery.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant my face.
Beanie's, like... sitting,
Yeah, no, it's very cool. How's your day so far?
That is very telling that that's the first thing Oli London goes towards. Like his mind always races to his surgeries, probably because every other interview has started with talks about his surgery.
So we're just getting set up here a little bit. So tell me, when was your last surgery? I'm curious.
So I actually quit surgery. Well, my last surgery was last April, but I've completely quit, and I'm never going to do surgery again. I had recently I had a non-surgical facelift, but it's no surgery, it's threads, because you can do the same thing these days without the actual surgery. And I was getting to a point even.
So he's doing the surgeries without the surgeries because he won't do the surgeries. Like if I said, my first thought was he's done doing facial or body modifications, period. But no, he's fine with it. He just doesn't want the surgeries.
Where I would have probably died because I was going. I've probably gone under anesthetic 3 times every year. I was going under anesthetic, so it was like I could have died.
I read somewhere that you spent $300,000 on plastic surgery. I've always wondered, like, where do you get? That's a lot of money. Where'd you get that money?
Well, actually, I used to, before I started doing, social media and K-pop and stuff, I actually was a successful personal shopper. So I had my own personal shopping business in London. So, I used to dress like really, like very wealthy ladies, celebrities.
Okay. Like a stylist?
Members of the royal family. So, I was dressing them in like Gucci and Tom Ford and stuff, and you get a very high commission for that. So basically I did all that, spent a lot of the money on the surgery.
I see.
And now I've got
I want that job. What? All he did was do shopping for celebrities? How do I get that job? What? Okay.
I've got like a PR company basically helping influencers get publicity and help them get placements in like television and advertisements and stuff like that, and getting them brand deals. And of course I do my own social media, and I've got a book as well coming out this year.
Right. We'll talk about that. But did you say you dressed members of the royal family?
Not the British royal family. So I'd actually met with Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands, and she shopped with me. She brought some
you hung with the Queen? Damn.
Yeah, no, but I met loads of people. I met, the Prime Minister of Thailand, the ex-Prime Minister. I used to shop with his wives and girlfriends.
Wow. It must have been hard to leave that behind because, you moved to South Korea, and we're all familiar with that whole journey. That must have been hard to leave all that behind you if you were doing so well.
Actually, that was before. So when I lived in Korea as an English teacher, that was actually before. So it was basically, I was younger. I wanted an experience abroad, went to do some teaching in Korea, and then after I got back to London, I started like getting into fashion. I had some friends doing fashion, and then over a couple of years, I worked my way up from a stylist to a personal shopper, and
I see.
Kind of did that for about 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk, Oli, about. Well, first of all, thank you for coming on. I understand you're promoting a book entitled Gender Madness, which comes out August 1st. So congratulations. This is your first book. Very exciting. Gender Madness. Also, you wanted to announce that you're the new spokesperson for Fairness First PAC, Caitlyn Jenner's organization, who famously ran someone over. But that's actually not the most important thing about Caitlyn Jenner.
So basically, I've got a new book coming out August 1st, and basically, a lot of people have obviously followed my journey over the years. And
look here, look at Ethan.
So basically, I've got a new book coming out August 1st, and basically, a lot of people have obviously followed my journey over the years, and obviously, I've struggled a lot with identity, and I had some very unhealthy behaviors, basically due to my addiction to surgery, my body dysmorphia, which later turned into gender dysphoria. So I really struggled with that, and it was unhealthy. And, I completely accept my past. I don't try to deny the person I was. And, I had some kind of bizarre behaviors, basically in an attempt to feel validated and to try and, feel loved, because I really resented
so I want to get into
all
those things.
Okay.
I'm really interested in your journey from you identified as a trans woman, right? And then you kind of found God and pivoted. to becoming a white British Christian man. Is that, do I have the synopsis correct?
Yeah, it sounds complicated, but yes. So I'm back to being myself now, and like finally found happiness. Mhm.
Okay, okay. So I just want to get a few things straight. So do you still identify as gay?
Yes. So I'm still gay, but
Okay.
I have dated girls before, and I still.
So you're
I'm kind of more
bisexual, I
bi.
guess. Or
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, okay. And you don't identify as Korean anymore. Oh,
No, correct.
obviously. And then also, are you pro gay rights?
Yeah, absolutely.
You are.
I'm part of the LGBT community. I support people. My issue is just what's happening to children and also the erosion of women's rights. But I fully support people as an adult making an informed decision to change themselves. But I don't support children being medically transitioned.
So you do support trans people in general.
So absolutely. So I support, people as an adult making a decision if they want to change and they're happy with that. But I feel that unfortunately the trans movement has been hijacked by a small but growing group of trans activists, which are basically pushing kind of an erosion of women's rights. So that's what I really take an issue with. There's a lot of trans people. I have a lot of trans friends. I know what it's like to be trans, that really just want to live their lives, and they're actually having a tough time now because of these trans activists. So my issue is with trans activists and not actual trans people.
Okay, so you say, here's a tweet of yours from just the end of last month, not that long ago, right? Or no? Yeah, it's like from 5 days ago. You say the goal of the trans movement is not simply to exist. The goal is to erase women, mutilate children, sexualize kids, take away free speech, class pedophilia as an identity, remove parental rights, indoctrinate kids, violence to obtain, and they're willing to do violence to obtain their goals. So when you say the trans movement, it seems to me that you are speaking generally about trans people having this goal. And when you say trans movement, I don't know exactly what you mean, because it seems that most trans people, or that I've seen, maybe with the exception of Caitlyn Jenner, it seems to disagree with this, seems to identify as being parts of the trans movement. So what is the difference between, what is the trans movement? Who is a member of that? What is this organization?
Okay, so what I'm talking about here is the trans movement in the trans activist movement. So the people pushing these ideologies. So we see every single day. Just yesterday, the Texas state capitol was invaded. The trans protesters went there. We see women being attacked at women's rights rallies, physically attacked, and we're seeing this trans activist movement pushing for gender affirming care on kids, which is basically putting 11, 12-year-old kids on very harmful hormones. So that's what I'm talking about. When I talk, I'm not generalizing every single trans person. I'm talking about the current trans movement, which has been hijacked by trans activists. And, I really think that trans people that have been living as a trans person their whole life, they need to speak out against this, because the problem is that the LGBT community is being hijacked by these radical
let
people.
me ask, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I just want to address things you said already, right? So you say that the people who are demonstrating at the Texas Capitol are part of this trans movement who wants to, sexualize kids and this whole list of things. They were there to protest a bill, SB 14, that would ban gender-related treatment for minors. So these guys are, I guess, see that as an affront, as being transphobic. But you disagree, because what is minor? Anyone 17 and under? Do you believe that ever there would be a 17-year-old that needed gender-affirming care?
So minors basically classified anyone under 18. And what these people were protesting against was the fact that Texas is trying to pass a law to ban hormones and puberty blockers and gender reassignment surgery being administered to children, basically. So, I think these people, firstly, that was an unlawful protest. You can't just go into a state capitol and do that. And if they want to have
are you in favor of only lawful protests?
Well, I think, people need to follow the law. And if they want to have a protest.
Ethan's so good at this. Why do right wingers go on this and think they have a shot? Ethan is very progressive. What the fuck are you doing? The only thing I haven't heard him speak about, and this might be a tactical issue for him, is Israel-Palestine. It wouldn't surprise me if he supports Palestine, of course, and the same goes with Hila. It wouldn't surprise me if they support Palestine. But it wouldn't surprise me if they don't. You know? But at this point, I don't know. And from all I've seen, I would be happy even if he supported, if he was in favor of more settlements or whatever. I don't think they are, but I haven't seen anything.
Because they can have that dialogue. But
because he's so good at setting loser right wingers up for failure. I can see the building blocks he's building, and like, why do you think this? And how they have their the scripted answers like he has. Oli London here is just going off of script. There is no deviation whatsoever.
Outside the State House, you can't just storm in a State House. I mean, it's comparable to January 6th when people stormed the Capitol, which was unlawful as well. So I think, these people were not protesting about their rights being taken away. It's the fact that they were protesting against a bill that would have actually protected children. So I think that's really harmful.
Some would say that it's actually harming kids, right, to make it illegal to do this, because as you probably know, or I think you did at one point, is that gender affirming care on children is exceedingly rare. It's actually so rare that it's if to express like irreversible gender changes on children is something like I've got the number here, 0.000493% of U.S. children aged 6 through 17 go through irreversible gender changes. So I guess I'm just curious, because in the cases where they do undergo it, it's usually to save their life, right? Because they might be suicidal or yeah, right? And they go through like panels, they go through multiple rounds of talking to psychiatrists and doctors. So I guess I'm just curious, why is it you think that this is threatening kids instead of actually helping kids who are at high risk of hurting themselves?
So, Ethan, about 10 years ago, when gender-affirming care was performed on whether that was minors or adults, there was a lot of checks and balances. Now it has become so easy. So they don't have the psychiatrist appointments anymore. They don't have, having to wait several years to transition. Now it's a very fast-track process. And that's the real issue, because many of these teens, and we're seeing thousands of teens being transitioned and put on hormones. The number's really gone up in the last few years. Many of these teens are struggling with other issues. There's a high case, around 1 in 6 of these children have autism. They're being misdiagnosed. There's also kids with depression, bipolar, and they're being told all of these issues must be because they're in the wrong gender, and they are being fast-tracked. There was a case in Missouri at the St. Louis Children's Hospital, and basically a whistleblower unveiled that they only required like 1 session with a therapist to get a child on hormones and puberty blockers. So that's the issue when a system is being exploited. And there's been trans people forever throughout history. There's so many examples of trans people. But the thing is now is, previously, as difficult as it was, because it's so hard when you're trans to struggle and to think every day that I'm trapped in the wrong body. It is horrific to go through that. But the problem is, years ago, they would have 2 to 3 years they would have to undergo of psychiatrist appointments, doctor's appointments in order to qualify for a transition. Now it has become so easy, and there are thousands of kids being fast-tracked and put on hormones, prescriptions, and some kids.
Okay. How many years for genital transitioning? Okay, this is Sweden. This is liberal Sweden, which recently blocked. Never mind. Euthanasia and BUP can help with referrals to teams to take the patients who are under 18. They've been diagnosed, shouldn't stand in the way of getting referral. Assessment, common treatments, hormone treatments. Bottom surgery is available today for people who have gotten the diagnosis transsexualism, have been in contact with a gender assessment team for at least 2 years, and are at least 18 years old. For bottom surgery. California. Liberal California. The misuse of gender health programs provide blah, blah, blah. This is not what I want. This is not what I need. Waiting times for selected elective surgeries. That's not really what I want, is it? When British tattoo artist Ava Echo found the courage to come out as transgender, she quickly sought specialist medical care. This is from 2021. To help her transition. More than 4 years later, she's still waiting for her first appointment. But it's so easy, guys. It is so easy to just transform yourself into a new body. Oh, you want a dick instead? Here you go. Fuck that vagina. Like, it's not going to happen in a week. It's going to take years. Just like Ethan said. Yeah, and it's deadly waiting time as well. At least for a lot of them. Like, I can understand setting a waiting time. I can understand needing a diagnosis before getting surgery. You know, like they actually do. Like, first do no harm. And you can't just, oh, you want a vagina instead of a dick? Sure, here you go. Next. Not until we have our cyborg future, you know? When I can just pop it out and pop in a dick instead, you know, or a vagina in my case. Yeah, I think that's until we get to that future where we have a modular body like that, we have integrated completely with computers. We have brain implants. Everything is, like, you know, the real cyberpunk future. Transness is not going to be a thing. You can just switch out your organs. Oh, no, you know what? I want big honka boobs. There you go. Done. Like a 15-minute treatment. Go to IKEA for body parts instead of furniture. Yeah. So no. Ethan is 100% correct here. Oli London is just spewing propaganda.
Can now go to states like Colorado or Washington State, which have become sanctuary states, and they don't.
I want to
stop.
I want to actually address what you said about you had said something about Jamie Reed's allegations, right? But that was debunked, right? Because
so what Ethan has is a good team. Whatever Oli London spews, Ethan is getting updates from his team, I am certain of, that highlights articles for him to view so he can see, okay, that's the lie, let's go there.
Parents and the children there who actually were attending that facility actually told a completely different story. Have you read their account of that?
Yes, so I saw recently that they did an internal investigation. They said it wasn't true, but no, I don't believe that.
Well, that seems significant.
Yes, but I don't believe that at all because they're trying to cover their back.
You don't believe the internal investigation?
No, because there were multiple parents. When the Daily Caller originally did the interview with Jamie Reed, there were multiple parents that said basically their kids weren't looked after. Once they left the clinic, there were no checks and balances, and there were parents confirming that. So, I believe the investigation has a lot of bias because it's done by the clinic and they're profiting.
So the internal investigation said there was no wrongdoings. The patients said there was no wrongdoings. So I guess I'm just curious. The people who are claiming that there was something wrong there is like the Daily Caller, Tucker Carlson. Are you saying that they don't have a bias?
Well, I mean, a lot of people have a bias and stuff, but we have to look at these gender clinics as a whole. Project Veritas exposed multiple clinics the other day of talking about medically transitioning 8 to 11-year-olds.
No. Pro transgender medical professionals cashing in on lifelong.
For a female going to male, if they would continue, you'd continuously take testosterone pretty well the rest of their life.
It's almost like she'll be a patient for life, that kind of thing.
Yeah, in the beginning it's a lot of doctor visits, but after a while you space it out and it's like every 6 to 12 months, which is being a patient, but doesn't seem so bad.
I was under the impression that
Yeah. Is this a revelation? I feel like this is the most obvious shit I've ever heard. Yeah, of course they're going to be lifelong patients. Until our technology is good enough for them not to be, but it's not at the moment. Like there might be some trans people who heal so miraculously that it's practically unnecessary for them to see a doctor every year, But goddamn, this is a critique not of the medical practitioners. It is a critique of capitalism in healthcare. It is the most idiotic thing we've ever created.
I was going to take a cure and be healed, and I didn't understand as a mentally ill child that I was signing up for lifelong medicalization.
So, and I can say from
God damn, she's bought the propaganda there.
here as well, there's a lot of our folks at our clinic who are on the autism spectrum as well.
Okay.
The amount of crossover between folks who are somewhere on the spectrum and some also somewhere on the LGBTQIA spectrum as well.
Person on the spectrum as well, 21 years old. He was coming here, or at the time he was coming here for mental health, and he is getting his vagina next week.
Wow.
Anyone who says that you
Wait.
Well,
person on the spectrum as well, 21 years old. He was coming here, or at the time he was coming here for mental health, and he is getting his vagina next week.
Wow.
At the time, how long? Like, is this 5-year period in? What are we talking about here? Is this 10 years in? How long have they been coming here? Typical Veritas, Project Veritas disinfo. They clip out all relevant context that you can have to determine the validity of the statements.
Anyone who says that you can change your sex is lying to you. You will be chasing constant drugs and surgeries for the rest of your life.
10 years old coming by themselves.
10, 11, yes.
Most of the kids are nowhere in any kind of a brain space to really talk about it in a serious way.
True hormone therapy, it is life-changing and is
Okay, it's typical Project Veritas.
So we have to acknowledge that this is going on in a lot of clinics, and a lot of these clinics are trying to cover their backs by trying to paint a rosy picture that it's perfect.
Did you
it's
say
fine.
Project Veritas?
Yes, they did an undercover investigation.
That's the guy who got ousted for being like a sex criminal and like scam artist, James O'Keefe. That's his organization, right?
He's not part of that organization now. So the organization that left, Project Veritas, the original organization, did this investigation.
They don't have a lot of credibility, Veritas. It seems like every investigation they do is just chock full holes of untruths and just blatant lies. I don't think it's a very credible institution for pulling data from.
Well, there's multiple organizations like Project Veritas that do expose
Which other
this.
ones?
So Gays Against Groomism, ambassador for them, they are also exposing this happening in clinics.
You mean the heterosexuals against gays?
Mm-hmm.
Gays Against Groomers. So who's...
Have you heard of them?
I haven't, but who's the groomer then?
So basically, Gays Against Groomers is an organization of hundreds of
He's heard of them.
LGBT people. It includes trans people as well. Basically, this organization is calling out the harms. They're doing investigations of gender clinics, calling out the harms of doing this to kids. Because look,
Where's
we
the
get that
grooming
some
come
kids,
in, though? That's the part that I find like really inflammatory. Because grooming implies that trans people or trans activists, and it's what you said here in this tweet, that they're pedophiles, that they're sexualizing kids. So where's that evidence come from? Because it's one thing to say we're against, you know, gender affirming care for minors, but it's a whole different thing to say, you know, they're grooming.
well, that word is basically used because we're seeing many drag shows, like adult drag shows, where kids are attending, and it's very sexually explicit. So that is a form of grooming. We also see these kids' books in public libraries and in schools where they're teaching kids about drag and being trans. You know, that's not a subject a kid should hear. So that is a form of grooming because it's indoctrinating kids.
I've heard, I know that there was that one drag show with kids that was kind of a hot button issue. What other examples can you think of drag shows with kids involved where they're being groomed?
So there's in the last year, there's an
The
investigative
church.
journalist, Taylor Hansen. He's exposed at least 20 drag shows in Texas that are called
20?
all ages drag shows. They're called all ages drag shows, and they're basically doing sex acts on stage. They have breasts. You know, they're doing very inappropriate things. So no, it's just.
So hold on,
kids
sorry,
shouldn't be
Oli,
there.
you're making so many claims, and I just want to get to each one. You mentioned an organization, Gays Against Groomers, which was founded by Jamie Mitchell. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jamie Mitchell and their partner are ultra MAGA Trump followers, and there's nothing wrong with being a Trump supporter, but they're also anti-transgender. They spread anti-transgender propaganda with QAnon conspiracy theories, and interestingly, the founders are straight. So how is it that they can make a Gays Against Groomers organization when they themselves are not even gay? That seems disingenuous.
Well, firstly, that's a Wikipedia page. You know, Wikipedia has a lot of bias with the woke people that
So
write on
Jamie
there.
Mitchell is
Actually,
gay.
She's gay. She's a lesbian. All of the people, you have to be LGBT to be a member.
How do they check that?
Of Gays Against Groomers? So there's
How do they
hundreds of trans
verify
people.
the credentials?
No, I mean, you know, if someone says they're gay or bi, you know, you accept that. You don't say, "Oh, can you prove that you're gay? How can you prove that?" So, I mean, no, Jamie Mitchell is a lesbian. All of the members are lesbians, trans. It's not anti-transgender at all. They support people being trans as an adult, but what they're trying to do is calling out the harm that we're seeing caused to children, and that's the real issue here. Is about protecting kids.
So go back to your claim about grooming. So you brought up the drag show for kids. Is there any other examples, or are we just talking about drag shows? Because I have to assume that the drag shows, even if it's as widespread as Project Veritas claims, which heaven knows how credible they are, there's got to be other examples to make such bold claims as that there's a whole movement.
This came out at some point, February 21st of this year. A new report pulls us out of the curtain and reveals the background of those working to spread anti-LGBTQ plus hatred using the hate account Gays Against Groomers. The founders of Gays Against Groomers, Jamie Michelle, and her partner are former ultra MAGA Trump followers who spread anti-transgender propaganda with QAnon conspiracy theories and links to extremist militias, according to the Media Matters for America investigation published last week. In response to accusations that it spreads homophobia and transphobia, GAG, well, I can't complain about that, the acronym. GAG claims that as a coalition of gay people, it and its members cannot possibly spread anti-LGBTQ plus propaganda. Furthermore, they claim that any attack on the group is homophobic. So when gay people criticize GAG, it's homophobic. But when they criticize gay people, they can't be homophobic because they're all gay. Which is obviously bullshit. However, GAG is not a grassroots initiative, but a right-wing project seeking to gain political and financial advantage by using anti-trans rhetoric, according to the left-leaning media watchdog. GAG was formed last year to protect the kids from sexualization, indoctrination, and medicalization, Michelle claims, and has gained prestige in right-wing circles along with Shai Raichik's Libs of TikTok, which also attacks the LGBTQ plus community. Both have promoted the use of the anti-LGBTQ plus slur groomer. And Michelle announced that her fiance Sasha Lee and right-wing provocateur David would join the group's board. Really? It must be her. I can't imagine it being a black girl. GAG. Okay.
Who've been trying to sexualize kids.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at the music industry, you have really.
I just needed a banana. A banana.
Shocking performances like Sam Smith, for instance, who is pushing a specific agenda. He has concerts which are allowing all ages. And, if you want to be a musician, do whatever you want, but don't be doing sexually graphic things. He's doing imitating blowjobs. He has, fetish gear on, and there's kids in the audience. So it's not.
Can you think? So who are we gonna search for? We have Rihanna lap dance. Here we go. A lot of kids watch Rihanna, right? We don't have to use music. Yeah. Oh, something more. Okay, sure. So we can end it there, I think.
Not just about drag queens, it's about protecting kids in general. So even if it's Cardi B, I don't think kids should be at a Cardi B concert if she's twerking or doing like something very, very sexual. I think it's just about protecting
grooming.
kids.
I mean, but you turn on the TV, I mean, you see stuff worse than that, right? On YouTube and stuff. To say they're grooming them seems pretty disingenuous and actually really homophobic and transphobic to put this label that they're groomers, because you understand the gravity of such a claim, right?
Well, it's a very loaded word. I get that, but it's not an attack on the LGBT community at all. It's about basically calling out specific cases. It's not an attack on trans people, calling out specific cases where children are being exposed to something that's highly inappropriate and trying to raise awareness of that. So it's not a label that's attached to gay people, lesbians, trans people. It's literally about calling out specific instances of,
I want to ask you about something
children.
specific. Actually, since you bring it up, I have seen something troubling from a trans person that I thought was kind of gross. They were selling, it was like a kid's t-shirt with a trans person on it, and then they had like kids' toys with trans people on it, and it was kind of gross and groomy. Have you seen anything like that before?
I've seen T-shirts that the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota wore, protect trans kids, with a knife on it. Things like that. I've seen T-shirts that says protect trans rights with AK-47s on it and stuff. And, I don't think that's helpful messaging for, and that's just trans activists, by the way, Ethan. This is a small number of people, and that's who I'm calling out. That's who Gays Against Groomers are calling out. It's not the trans community as a whole. Specific trans activists who have highlighted, have hijacked the trans movement.
So actually, you know what's interesting, Ollie? If you go to your website right now, your merch website, I was actually talking about your merch. You are actually selling kids' lunch boxes with a picture of you depicted as a trans woman. And you're selling it.
No, that's not as a trans woman.
Oh,
That's
it's
not
not.
as a trans woman. That's just a K-pop picture of me.
Okay, because this is you. I had a feeling you would say that because here it is, you wearing that design, and it's pretty obvious to tell that this is depicting you. This is
Yes,
from just
correct.
like a month ago, and this is when you were
Wearing
trans.
my merch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think it's appropriate to sell this to kids?
Well, it's a lunchbox with a picture of a K-pop cartoon. There's
Well, it's
nothing
you as a
inappropriate with
trans.
that.
It's you as a trans.
I mean,
woman.
It's me.
He is really good at setting them up for this, like deliberately fooling them into falling on their own swords. It is.
Me as a K-pop star. It's nothing to do with being trans or not. That's just a
Oli.
cartoon of me as a K-pop star. So it's not.
But
that's not inappropriate.
Right, but at the time you were a trans woman.
Correct. At the time, I was a trans woman, but there's nothing
So
inappropriate.
it's you
with
as
that.
a trans woman.
That I was a trans woman at the time. That picture does not depict me as a trans woman. It depicts me as a K-pop star. But
I find
it
that
doesn't depict
interesting that you're
anything.
willing to make that separation when you're making such general claims about groomers and stuff. Because to me, by your own definition, this is pretty groomy. And even if you go, and this is all
It's an
I'm-
innocent
well, hold
picture.
on,
It's an
Ollie, hold
innocent
on one
picture.
sec. Even if you go on your website right now, you're selling the same graphic, Oli London, Oli Merch Squad, as you depicted as a trans woman. And if you look at the available sizes, it's just kids. 3 to 4. Do you think it's appropriate for a 3 to 4-year-old to buy this shirt?
Yeah, of course. Any K-pop fan, if they want to buy my merch, they're absolutely entitled to. There's nothing inappropriate with that merch at all. It's
That is a
cartoon
trans
thing.
woman, Ollie. You're not understanding your own
clutching at
logic.
straws. You're clutching at straws.
How am
That's
I? You were a
cartoon.
okay. Hold on. Let's follow this through. You were a trans woman when you made this. There's a picture of you wearing it. It's obviously
Yeah,
you
correct.
as a trans woman. Here's you as a trans woman, and here's you as a trans woman on the shirt, on a kid's shirt. How am I clutching at straws?
Well, you're clutching at straws. It's an innocent cartoon. It doesn't say anything about
The
indoctrinating
tongue
children.
is
It's
somewhat
literally a
sexual.
cartoon.
How the tongue is out like that, it's a little disturbing.
Ethan, come on. I'm doing a K-pop pose. You're just clutching at straws.
No, why is the tongue out? I find that a little provocative.
Ethan, it's a cartoon. You're just trying to make
Well,
a joke
I
out
don't
of
know
it.
because you're no, I'm not trying to make a joke. I think this is a somewhat serious issue to resolve here because I'm being serious, Ollie, because let's at least be consistent. If we're going to accuse people of grooming kids, and which you have made a short-lived but somewhat profitable career of doing, then I think we need to, we need to get on top of this. I just don't think it's appropriate to be selling lunch boxes with a trans woman
if that
on it.
lunchbox, Ethan, if that lunchbox had something inappropriate or sexual, that would be wrong. But this is an innocent cartoon of me doing a K-pop pose. There's nothing wrong with that particular picture. If it was inappropriate or in a sexual way, that would be completely wrong. And of course, I would never sell that. But that's an innocent drawing of a cartoon, Ethan.
Do you think it's appropriate?
So there's no way that if the people Oli London has aligned himself with, there is no way that he is not thrown into the fire with every trans person ever. Like, seriously. He might be the last trans person down, but as an ex-trans, he's going to be a part of the issue that they want to purge. He's not going to survive this if he wins. Like, he's marching himself into the doom, and he has no idea about it. It is so fucking stupid.
For a drag queen, for kids to buy, let's say a kid's at a drag queen show. That's grooming. And let's say they are selling lunch boxes to the kids with a picture of a drag queen on it. doing a cute pose or whatever, right? Not sexual, but they're in drag. Do you think it's appropriate for a kid to carry that lunchbox?
Well, I think it's appropriate if the kid's at a drag show that's inappropriate, because some drag shows are generally not inappropriate, but
Okay,
a lot
so
of them are becoming
okay, that's
sexualized.
interesting. So some drag shows are appropriate and some aren't.
Correct. It's about
Okay.
doing some. No, correct. It's about if you're going to do anything in front of kids, it should be PC. It should not have anything sexual. But sadly, a lot of these shows are doing sexual things, so kids should not be there. If the merch is there and it's a show that's sexual, they shouldn't be there in the first place.
Okay, this is interesting. So you're saying it is okay for kids to go to drag shows?
I'm not saying that at all. I don't think they should in general,
You
but I'm just saying.
if they're not sexual, and I would assume it's not because it's for kids, right? I mean, if they're doing sexual stuff, I would consider that. Obviously, everyone would consider that inappropriate. But I believe you've just said drag shows are safe for kids. In fact, you would even be okay. Well, hold on. You even said you'd be okay with them carrying a drag show lunchbox.
No, look, I just don't think kids should be anywhere that.
He did say that. He did say that.
Is putting ideas into their head. If a show is innocent, that's obviously better than it being a sexual show. But I still don't think kids should be exposed to gender ideology.
So, but what about this lunchbox you're selling to kids?
That has nothing to do with any kind of ideology. It's a K-pop picture, so.
Yeah, but you're in drag in the picture. You're trans.
I'm not in drag.
Well, you're trans. Sorry, yeah, you're right. You're not in drag. I misspoke. You're trans. You're a woman. You're expressing yourself as a woman on the box.
It's just a cartoon, Ethan. I don't know why you keep going on about it's a cartoon.
It's just a cartoon. I mean, I feel like you're trying to downplay the significance of this, Oli.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid that some of the people that you associate with might consider this grooming by your own standard. I'm just looking out for you and your reputation.
It's just silly, Ethan. It's an innocent cartoon. If it was an inappropriate picture, that would be wrong.
Okay. What do you make of this picture? Are these kids in danger? Your thoughts?
Well, I haven't seen the video of that particular show, and it depends what book they're reading. If the drag queen is
It
teaching
appears
them
to
about
be
gender
depicting some fish, a couple of fish in the ocean. It seems like
that's the rainbow fish.
The rainbow fish. It seems to be the rainbow fish, Oli.
Well, I think a lot of these books are pushing even subtle messages on gender ideology, trying to tell kids you should be trans and become LGBT, and kids should make.
See, he can't bite the bullet. He's gonna have to. Him of all people need to bite the bullet. Like if he's gonna be effective at what he does, maybe that's the game he's playing. Because if he's going to be effective at what he does, he needs to be a bridge between the right and the left. Like that should be. I'm giving him ideas here. I shouldn't, but there's a big issue with this idea. But if he's genuine in his beliefs, he needs to bite the bullet there, so that fewer people are gonna hate on him. He needs to be gays against groomers are great, but we shouldn't target these people. And then whenever the right inevitably targets those types of people, Oli London's gonna go, "Oh, you stop it!" Like the Democrats do. "Oh, you stop it." Can't go around doing that. We shouldn't be gay. Gays against groomers, they're great. Oh, you people. Stop grooming kids. No, that's fine. Stop grooming kids. Oh, gays against groomers is fine. He should be doing that kind of thing. But he won't, because the right won't pay him if he does. But he can't admit that his past is very similar to this, according to him. So the only reason he won't admit that is that would mean that he'd go into the flame as well. That he is going to be targeted by these people, which he will, but he's in denial of that, and that's why he can't bite the bullet.
make that decision on their own. So if that book is teaching them about, transitioning or becoming a drag queen, that's inappropriate.
It's
and that's
the rainbow
issue
fish.
Yes, but I haven't read the book. I can't see what the book is. So based on that one picture, does that book contain subtle messaging that's trying to tell kids to change their gender when they shouldn't be thinking about things like that? And, in Florida, they've obviously banned books in the classroom that teach gender ideology. And there's a lot of books, kids' books. There's a book called The Gay ABCs, and that pushes gender ideology. For 2-year-olds, it's too.
Give me a moment. My girlfriend is crazy. I hate her. She wants to go to IKEA. Again, we were there last week. How much joy can you get from one place? How much joy from a fucking IKEA?
Plus, and I don't think that's appropriate for a kidology. And there's a lot of books, kids' books. There's a book called The Gay ABCs, and that pushes gender ideology. For 2-year-olds, it's 2+, and I don't think that's appropriate for a kid that just should be reading kids' books that are completely innocent. They shouldn't even be.
But what do you make of this? What do you make of this lunchbox, though?
Why do you keep going back to the lunchbox?
Because it's got a picture of a trans woman on a kid's lunchbox.
Got a picture of a K-pop star on the lunchbox.
Who's the K-pop star? Who is the K-pop?
Come on,
it's
Ethan,
you, right?
It's me.
It's you. And this K-pop star is a trans woman, right?
I was trans at the time. The image doesn't necessarily depict any kind of gender.
So you're saying, did the photo of
just
you,
bite the fucking bullet?
Not even. It's not even a photo of me. It's literally a cartoon. I had an anime cartoon drawn of me.
Right. Right.
Would you buy it?
Sorry?
Would you buy it for your kids?
I mean, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't, just because I don't want to support you financially. But but theoretically, I don't think I'd have a problem with. No, I wouldn't have a problem with my children looking up to a trans person. Of course not. What would be wrong with that?
No, and Ethan, look, I don't have a problem with trans people at all.
Yes,
I'm just
you do.
saying that certain things, when it comes to gender ideology, if transgenderism is being pushed on young kids in preschool or even elementary school when they shouldn't be thinking about that, I think it's wrong to expose them to that. I think
exposing them to trans people.
Who they are.
Exposing them to trans people, like this lunchbox is. Right?
You're really obsessed with that lunchbox.
Well,
you need to get one.
No, but I think it's a really important point that you're not coming to terms with. We're exposing kids to a trans woman. Don't you think that's wrong? Why is it still on your website, at least,
It's come on, Ethan. I don't know what to say. It's a cartoon of a K-pop star, and it's very innocent. It's just like a little anime drawing. It's nothing. If I was doing something inappropriate, if I had, protect trans kids on there, that would have a message. That would have a loaded gender ideology message. But it literally says Oli Squad with a cartoon of me doing the peace sign. It's like super cute, super innocent. Just like most K-pop stars are like super cute, Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, aren't you making like the Higo face a little bit?
What, do you think I should make it more masculine?
No, the Higo face is like some kind of hentai thing, isn't it?
I have no idea.
That's when you cross your eyes and stick out your tongue.
Oh, really? Well, my eyes are
wide open. You don't know about that?
My eyes are wide open. I do watch some anime, but I don't know.
You don't know about the Higo face?
No.
I don't believe you.
No.
No, I watch anime, like I watch Attack of the Titans and
That's
stuff,
straight
but I'm not
cap, my
familiar with-
brother. This is it.
There's
and you
there's
can
no
see the
shit. Who doesn't know about the Higo face? Please, Oli London, Higo face. Of course, face is gonna be. Can we? No. But there's no way he doesn't know about the Ahigo face.
resemblance, right? Here's the Ahigo face.
Go on.
It's like a hentai reference. But you see the resemblance, right?
Can you put them side by side?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to.
I mean, that's quite a cute drawing.
Right, but that's like a woman like orgasming is what that is.
Yeah.
Well,
or like
that's not
lustful.
what I
It's like a
picked.
lustful kind of sexual gratification.
Adrian, you're
face.
really clutching at straws.
Am
I'm
I?
literally like, I've got my
No, he's
eyes
not.
open, I'm doing the peace sign, and
What
you're
is-
trying to dissect it and say this, honestly.
Right. It just seems to me that even as a trans person, you shouldn't be exposing kids to that. It seems like you're shoving gender ideology down kids' throats by selling them a lunchbox with a trans woman on it. You don't
I
see
just
my
don't-
point at all? You don't get it?
No, I don't. You know, I would see your point completely if, for instance, it had messaging on there, like some political. Because I don't think
You
kids should
were
be exposed to politics
trans
either.
when you
So
created
political
it.
Gender ideology message. If that was on there, that'd be different. If it was a sexually suggestive image, but this is literally an innocent cartoon. I've
With
got my
a
eyes
Hegel
open,
face.
I'm doing the peace sign. You could not get innocent. What do I need to do, Ethan, like to please people? Do I have to like close my eyes?
Well, I personally don't necessarily have a problem. What is your fascination with the eye wideness? I haven't said anything about that.
About what? Sorry.
You said, "What do I have to close my eyes?" I didn't know what that meant. You kept mentioning about like the eye wideness of how wide it is. I don't know why you keep bringing that up.
No, I'm just saying
That's
that
okay,
look,
Blaze.
in the picture,
Thank
my
you for
eyes,
staying.
it's got very, it's not even me, by the way, it's a cartoon, but the eyes are very wide open,
Right.
like
Of you.
glistening.
It's
I'm just saying, like, what's wrong with having my eyes open? Like, we're human beings, we have to have
I
our
don't
eyes
know
open.
why you're
Like, would
talking
it be
about
better
eyes
if I close
open.
my eyes? Would it be better if I close my eyes?
I don't know. I don't even know what that means, Ollie. Here's a reference to popular culture.
Like he thinks, oh, it's the eyes that makes it the horny face. No, it's the tongue. It's the tongue.
with the Ahigo face. It's, like kind of an e-girl thing. You're probably aware of that.
Well, I'm not an e-girl, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, but you're on the internet, and it's from anime, which you seem to be. Okay, but let's move
No,
on.
I do know anime and stuff. I don't know anything to do with that pose. Literally, I've got my mouth open like this.
No.
Peace. I always have my mouth open, like.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
Come on.
Let me see that again. Looks really natural when you do it.
Thanks.
Yes, girl. So are you? So the trans, but you identify as a male now. You're not trans. We're over that.
No, I'm like, well, basically, I got to a point where I was going to probably die from all the surgery I was doing. And, I was really mentally struggling, had a lot of mental health struggles based on a variety of issues, which I talk about in my book, from when I was being bullied very severely as a kid. I was always told I was like ugly, or I looked like a monster, or, I was more feminine, or I had man boobs. So I just used to have all those things, and it left me with traumas. So it kind of messed up my head. And as an adult, I didn't deal with that in the way that I should have. I should have had therapy. I should have spoke to someone. Instead, it was almost like self-harming. So all this crazy surgery was me kind of lashing out at the bullies, and it was very, very destructive for me and for other people. So, I'm glad to be over that.
Do you think that people who are bullied are at a higher chance of becoming trans?
Yes, definitely. So I talk about this in my book. There's a lot of studies. There was a study in Finland by the top transgender clinic that was basically transitioning a lot of kids. And they said around 45% of the kids had experienced severe bullying. So that led to their gender dysphoria identity. But there's also the other side.
Your theory is that the bullying leads to the dysphoria, not.
It seems to be Finnish names, so I can assume it's this study. Background: during adolescence, bullying often has a sexual content. Involvement in bullying as a bully, victim, or both has been associated with a range of negative health outcomes. Transgender youth appears to face elevated rates of bullying in comparison to their mainstream peers. However, the involvement of transgender youth as perpetrators of bullying remains unclear. However, the involvement of transgender youth as perpetrator of bullying remains unclear in the recent literature. The aim of the study was to compare involvement in bullying between transgender and mainstream youth and among middle and late adolescents in general population samples. Results: both experiences of being bullied and perpetuating bullying were more commonly reported by transgender youth than by cisgender youth. They're not only bullied more, they're also the bully more. Crowder. Oh my God. Crowder. It's him. He's both. He's both. Oh my God. This is amazing. I love it. Among transgender youth, all involvement in bullying was more commonly reported by non-binary youth than those identifying with the opposite sex. Oh my God, non-binary people are even more exposed. All involvement in bullying was more commonly reported by non-binary youth than those identifying with the opposite sex. Damn. Logistic regression revealed that non-binary identity was most strongly associated with involvement in bullying, followed by opposite sex identity and cisgender identity. Logistic regression revealed that non-binary identity was most strongly associated with involvement in bullying, followed by opposite sex identity and cisgender identity. Transgender identities were also more strongly associated with perpetration of bullying than subjection to bullying. So I assume that this, before I read the conclusion here, my conclusion without reading here is that people who struggle with their self-identity, and I can assume that non-binary people struggle the most, because at least for lack of better vocabulary, more trans people, since they have an actual model to follow, that they would be more secure in that. And I wonder if those who become bullies are those who deny themselves that this is what they want, and those who become bullied are more often those who accept themselves. And those who don't accept themselves are trying to tell the people who accept themselves, stop your exposing, you're threatening me with that behavior, and therefore I have to put you down for this. That would be my working theory, at least. Transgender identity, especially non-binary identity, is associated with both being bullied and perpetrating bullying, even when a range of variables, including internal stress and involvement in bullying in the opposite role, are taken into account. I have no idea what I just read. Transgender identity, especially non-binary identity, is associated with both being bullied and perpetrating bullying, even when a range of variables, including internal stress and involvement in bullying in the opposite role, are taken into account. And involvement in bullying in the, like, if you're bully, okay. Being a bully doesn't mean you don't get bullied. This suggests that bullying during adolescence may serve as a mechanism of maintaining heteronormativity. Bullying, yeah, like I said, they're doing it to so that the people accepting themselves don't threaten them. Okay, yeah, I can believe that.
Not the dysphoria leading to the bullying.
But that has nothing to do with transgenderism or transness coming from being bullied.
Which would be more logical.
I was just about to say as well, but there is also the flip side of that, where kids that are but the kids are being bullied because of their identity, you know, because maybe a boy is more feminine or a girl is more like a tomboy. So they're also being bullied for that. But in certain studies, the one in Finland at Tampere University, they found that there was a significant correlation between a kid being bullied and then the onset of their gender dysphoria coming afterwards rather than before. But you know,
which study?
At Tampere, because of their identity, you know, because maybe a boy is more feminine or a girl is more like a tomboy. So they're also being bullied for that. But in certain studies, the one in Finland at Tampere University.
It's all the same study. It's all the same study. No, it just says, all it says is that transness is associated with being bullied or with bullying in general. Two years of gender identity service for minors, overrepresentation of natal girls with severe problems in adolescent development. But I can believe that kids with adolescent development problems are gonna have some identity issues, like in general.
They found that there was a significant correlation between a kid being bullied and then the onset of their gender dysphoria coming after.
Not true. Not true. We just read it. There's no other study that I can find because this seems to be the study. The university found that people who are trans, either fully trans for lack of better words, or gender non-conforming, are involved in bullying on both the receiving end and the receptive end.
Afterwards rather than before. But, you know, of course it works both ways.
Let's see here. I have that theory you're citing in front of me.
Tampere University, Finland, yeah.
Here it is. Let's read the conclusion. Here, there's the abstract and everything. Let's see.
Yeah, okay.
The conclusion says gender identity, especially non-binary identity, is associated with both being bullied and perpetrating bullying, even when a range of variables, including internal stress and involvement in bullying and the opposite role, are taken into account. This suggests that bullying during adolescence may serve as a mechanism of maintaining heteronormality, which I think what that means is that the bullying actually results in people rejecting their transness in favor of heteronormality. I think so it seems to be saying the opposite actually of what you've claimed it said. Do you see what I'm referring to? Heteronormality?
Yeah, no, I see that. I see that article. That, you know, if you actually read the full study, which
that's
I've read
the
the full
conclusion.
study, you can find it on the National Institute of Health.
Oh no, this is the study. Yeah,
let me have a look.
Yeah, no, this is the study. It's the .gov.
Finland, yeah.
Yeah, this is it. And then this is the author's conclusion right there. I mean, that's pretty much that. This is the one you're talking about. Do you disagree?
Yes, but it's look. The study's also saying it's associated with being bullied and being the perpetrator. So it's basically saying that either.
But the message. This is the last sentence. So let's read this together carefully.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests that bullying during adolescence may serve as a mechanism of maintaining heteronormality. So, do we understand what that says?
No, I get what it's saying. It's basically saying that some of these kids that are being bullied will maintain their original identity because of the bullying. Correct. But the study also, if you read the full study, the study also speaks, there's a high correlation between, there's two different findings in the study. There's a finding that around 45% of the kids are bullied, and that causes the gender dysphoria. And there's also a part of the study which also says, like the conclusion is finding, that some of these kids are bullied because of their gender dysphoria, and it makes it worse.
So
So there's
it
two
seems
different
like
findings.
if two outcomes are possible, then it doesn't seem that interesting. I wonder why you bring it up.
Well, no, read the full study. It also talks about
This
the
is it,
correlation
man.
between autism.
I mean, this is the author. They wrote the conclusion right here. This is their.
That's a small summary
No,
on
yeah,
Yahoo
but that's
News.
the
If you actually
author.
read,
That's the author. That's their conclusion.
correct.
Right.
But if you read in the
Who
National
better to
Institute
draw
of
a
Health,
conclusion than the author of the study?
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I've read the full study multiple times on the National Institute of Health. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that if bullying prevents people from becoming, according to this, bullying prevents more kids from transitioning? Do you believe that we need more bullying?
No, I'm an advocate against bullying. I think whoever gets bullied, it's so wrong. I've been bullied myself, and I'm an advocate.
But if
for trying to
bullying
stop that.
results in
Nobody
less
deserves to be bullied.
transitioning, then that, according to what you're saying, is the best outcome for these kids.
No, I don't agree at all. No kid, even if a kid is feminine or a girl is a tomboy, they should not get bullied. No one should get bullied. They should be provided with support. But if somebody,
such a weaselly little bastard, feminine or a tom girl. There's a difference between a tom girl and a trans girl. There's a vast ocean of difference there. But he can't bite that bullet.
He wants to transition. I'm not against people transitioning. I just don't think it's right as a kid, because a lot of these kids are going through so many issues during that time. They are not in the right frame of mind to make an informed consent decision.
If a child is suicidal, do you believe that they should transition to save their life?
So there's a lot of clinics and doctors that use this argument. There's a clinic called Kaiser Permanente in California.
Kaiser Permanente.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. So basically, they have used with multiple people that have since detransitioned, Chloe Cole and Layla, another detransitioner. They basically told them your kids are going to commit suicide if you don't transition them. But what they said afterwards is they actually felt worse 6 months down the line after their transition, because they've got hormones in their body, they've got puberty blockers, and they even had double mastectomies.
That the vast majority of people that transition don't regret it. I think it's like 95%. 99%. Are you aware of that stat?
You don't hear the cases of the detransitions.
Are you aware, Oli, that 99% of kids that transition do not regret it?
No, I don't support that statistic. I think it's wrong because these clinics.
From what authority do you disprove that statistic?
Well, look, these clinics make these studies. They don't even do follow-up studies. There's an example of a.
Do you not trust studies? Because you just told me to read one.
Look, what I'm saying is the gender clinics make billions of dollars every year. Their studies are skewed and biased.
In a review of 27 studies involving almost 8,000 teens and adults who had transgender surgeries, mostly in Europe, US, and Canada, 1% on average expressed regret. For some, regret was temporary, but a small number went on to detransition. But that's 1%. That seems like a very small amount to be singularly focused on. And this is 27 studies, so this is a massive kind of conclusion, right? A scientific conclusion, a consensus, if you would.
Yes, but what I'm saying is there's a clinic, for instance, Tavistock Clinic, which was the main clinic in the UK. They were actually exposed. They were doing studies as well. They weren't bothering to check with the detransitioners. They didn't bother to check with the detransition. They didn't check how the hormones were affecting them over a year.
I know what you're talking about. That English one for
Yeah.
So that one, if I recall, I looked into that. I believe it was people say it was shut down. It was actually, wasn't it?
Being shut down,
right? But
still open.
They're actually making.
Okay. Hey, Screen Room. Is this the guy who wanted to transition to being Korean and having a penis reduction? Yes, it's that guy. And they later became a woman, and that was like a month ago. And now they are staunchly anti-transness in anything. But I think I've seen enough of this. It's like Ethan has this. Ethan's got this. I want to see the rest on my own when I'm relaxing, because this is a treat for me. But I have nothing to add really. So instead, why don't we see Project Veritas's latest video, which came out April 25th. And it's on gender clinicals, of course. I've already seen the first minute and a half. Stop it. Thank you. I've already seen the first minute and a half because it came up in the Oli London discussion. And yeah, so why don't we watch this instead? I have more to say. I'm not going to repeat my previous critique.
For a female going to male, if they would continue, you'd continuously take testosterone pretty well the rest of their life.
It's almost like
shocker.
patient for life, that kind of thing.
Yeah, in the beginning it's a lot of doctor visits, but after a while you space it out.
Like
and
nothing
it's
is said
every
here.
6 to 12 months, which is being a patient, but doesn't seem so bad.
I was under the impression that I was going to take a cure and be healed, and I didn't understand as a mentally ill child that I was signing up for lifelong medicalization.
So, and I can say from here as well, there's a lot of our folks at our clinic who
Like we get no details that we can verify anything or come to a conclusion of our own. We have to rely on their conclusions.
The LGBTQIA spectrum as well.
Person on the spectrum as well, 21 years old. He was coming here, or at the time he was coming here for mental health, and he is getting his vagina next week.
Wow.
Anyone who says that you can change your sex is lying to you. You
If
will
you
be
put dark on
chasing
his
constant
Musco,
drugs
they look
and
evil.
surgeries
Yeah.
for the rest of your life.
10 years old coming by themselves.
10, 11, yes. Most of the kids are nowhere in any kind of a brain space to really talk about it in a serious way.
Through hormone therapy, it is life-changing and is difficult to come back from. Like, it's a forever.
So we brought in our own therapists to write letters to rubber stamp our surgeries.
And they have to understand that the surgery itself is irreversible.
Like all of that sounded very spooky, very scary. But I can't verify who said any of it unless they show it in the video, and then won't be able to verify in what context it was said at all, because they've removed every specification that has to do with anything. They talk about years, but they don't give you how many exactly. You can't read between the lines to get to the truth at all in Veritas videos. Who the fuck is this guy? I know James O'Keefe is out, but who the fuck is this guy?
Setting the medical agenda. Now, those encouraged to seek these life-altering treatments and surgeries are usually the most vulnerable. Our investigation now reveals just how many
Christian
of these patients
Hartsock?
are on the autism spectrum. And as you will see,
Hartsock.
doctors are very willing to move forward.
So I can also say from here, there often is, or my experience here has been a heavy amount of crossover between folks who are somewhere on the spectrum and some somewhere on the LGBTQIA.
Oh my god,
as well.
I'm shocked. This is my shock face.
A lot of people who are somewhere on the autism spectrum experience a high level of introspection that a lot of other people don't necessarily experience. And I can say from here as well, there's a lot of our folks at our clinic who are on the autism spectrum as well.
I actually transitioned someone with your, actually funny story, just between us.
So they probably are interviewing regarding autism in a positive light. Like that's their cover story, it seems. But they're doing like a reporting job. So that's why there's no cameras, and they think, yeah, that would be my guess as to how they got these people to open up.
Person on the spectrum as well, 21 years old. He was coming here, or at the time he was coming here for mental health, and he came down here, And he just sat down and he said to me, like, I'm like, so what are you here for? He's like, oh, I saw you do transgender. I said, yes. He's like, well, I think I need to get my penis cut off. What? Like, where did this come off? And I called his whole family in here, and everyone was like, yeah, no, I always thought he was very femmy, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I asked this psych here, I thought I would point you to our psych, but he was like, I don't know, like, that's kind of autistic, it didn't spread, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, you know, transitioning is not easy. It doesn't happen like this. You have to inject yourself with hormones, you have to take pills, you have to do blood work. It's, you know, if he makes it, then let's do it. And he's getting his vagina next week.
Wow.
1 year.
So there's no talk about how many years this took place over. Or he made a story funny rather than accurate. Yeah, he came down and said, I think I need to get my dick chopped off. Okay. Project Veritas just by just airing this entire story, they made it look like they just rushed him off into the world. But as I said, he interviewed the entire family. That doesn't happen overnight. This took years probably in reality. But he made it funny. But if you remove the humor from it, sounds kind of bad.
Percentage of these transgender identified children and youth are on the autistic spectrum. If you talk to detransitioners, many of them are autistic. They will report that they have autism, and they will talk about how they mistakenly believed that the problems they struggled with autism or the symptoms they have of autism were mismatched with what they believed was gender dysphoria. So they're kind of being preyed upon.
What this sounds like, rather, is like I can imagine the highest number of people who are detransitioning. I think a vast majority of them are on the autism spectrum. I can see there be a legitimate request for there's something we need to do here. The answer they have not arrived at. The answer is we need to do more research. Why is it mainly people on the autism spectrum who detransition? And I know the numbers of detransitioners in general is very low, but that's an interesting thing to study. There's something there, perhaps. Maybe we can learn something new about sexuality and autism, you know, or self-identity and autism. Maybe we can start to recognize, you know what? These people maybe need to go through a different process to get to where they can be happy. For some of them, that might be to bodily transition as well. For others, it might not. Like, that's the questions we should be asking, not whatever the fuck this is.
The impression that I was going to take a cure and be healed, and I didn't understand as a mentally ill child that I was signing up for lifelong medicalization. I didn't conceptualize the idea that I was going to be injecting this every 2 weeks forever, and going to appointments and getting needles and blood work and surgery after surgery and revisions and the next one, and like the clavicle shortening, the hairline, everything. I didn't understand that there would always be something to chase. I thought I was just being given the cure.
Throughout our investigation.
Okay, that seems highly selectively edited, first of all. Can there be something to be said that some people maybe needs to have a second round of barriers to climb over? Can it be said that some clinics are hasty to judgment? Sure. The emphasis on some, though.
Our experts and subjects have echoed the sentiment that there is rarely an alternative to the currently affirming treatments to gender dysphoria, presenting it as a life or death decision.
So it's called like dysphoria. It's like gender dysphoria is what it's called, and it's usually you just being so uncomfortable in the body that you're in. And if a 10-year-old's feeling that, like, then you kind of get nervous about depression and like what that can lead into. And like, unfortunately, sometimes individuals, you know, eventually could take their life. So it's almost like if someone really realizes it, you know, by that age and they have that gender dysphoria but want to, you know, change it, those better outcomes.
Parents are being
So that's perfectly fine. I know they've removed context to make it sound worse, but imagine someone calls in, have questions surrounding their kid being 10 years, maybe talking, you know, talking about suicide, whatever. I don't know how exactly they worded it, but to make him talk about those things specifically in a delicate way, because he's a fucking doctor. Of course, he's going to be delicate in how he talks about suicide. So yeah, it's just propaganda. We know that, but I mean, that's how they did it.
blackmailed by being told that if they have a trans child, that their child is more likely to commit suicide. And so
I mean, they
they're
are.
basically told, would you rather have a live son or a dead daughter?
Yeah.
Would you rather have a trans kid or a dead kid?
My mom was crying a lot. She didn't understand. She was sad. And
At
the
some point,
therapist
yeah.
said, would you rather have a dead daughter or a living son? It's time to be excited about a boy. While she was crying,
A dead daughter or a living son?
they said it was transition or suicide.
Then I went to university at UC San.
Like, that sounds like a bad clinic. You have to take this up in stages. And it depends on the parent, I guess, as well. But yeah, it sounds like she's critiquing how the clinic handled it rather than transitioning in general.
Santa Cruz and like
Kat Cattinson. Oh, that bitch. All right. She was surprised when her voice started to change when she transitioned. Nobody had told her that her voice was going to change if she transitioned. And all she did, I think she was on hormones for like a year, maybe at most. There's something fishy in her story, I remember. But okay, that's that bitch. Of course, she's
the
on
ideology
Veritas.
was very big there. And I was almost encouraged to transition. I feel like I started considering like, okay, well maybe I should transition because apparently I'm going to commit suicide if I don't. And I called up Planned Parenthood and there was essentially no pushback. I talked to a doctor over the phone and I obtained testosterone in like 30 minutes. And I mean, I was an adult, but I hear similar stories from like other detransitioners who transition as minors that also obtained puberty blockers or hormones or surgery like pretty easily, like within an appointment or two.
We always hear surgery within an appointment or two. Yeah. Proof or it didn't happen, bitch. Puberty blockers, I can see that. Cross hormones, maybe if they're like 16, 17, maybe. Puberty's almost over. Let's just get in there, you know, maybe. But I doubt it.
You know, I do have some lasting issues from transitioning as an adult, but it's not nearly to the same degree as it would have been if I'd been an adolescent.
Meet Dr. Matthew Warnken, a pharmacist in Austin, Texas. He gives our undercover journalist further insight.
724.
There's rare.
It's like gender.
So it's this guy. Okay, so he's a pharmacist, Pharma D. Oh my God, he's a pharmacist.
I don't like with
the long last
been an adolescent.
So probably okay. So probably they called him up, and he's like, and then they go, so my daughter is being prescribed these types of drugs. What is happening here? Blah 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 blah. Oh, suicide? You say? Yeah. And then they go into and being delicate because he's a fucking professional.
Meet Dr. Matthew Warnken, a pharmacist in Austin, Texas. He gives our undercover journalists further insight into the long-lasting effects of these gender therapy pharmaceuticals.
As far as the medications are concerned, is there a point where we can stop taking? Is there a point that they stop taking it and then they're good and the transition's permanent? How does that work?
No, so with you would stop. They would eventually stop taking hormone blockers, but for a female going to male, if they would continue, you would continuously take testosterone pretty well the rest of their life, just so that you're because if they stop taking testosterone, their bodies will kind of revert back. So then stopping that, some things do revert back, but like when they've done it before puberty, some of those don't revert back as much, if you will.
The permanent effects of
What's the issue? Yeah. This is nothing. This is a revelation to them. This is like, oh my God, it doesn't revert back as much. Yeah, bitch. Of course not. We know.
testosterone are things like facial hair, body hair, enlargement of the clitoris, clitoromegaly, and the last one is vocal pitch drop. And so those are effects that once they happen, don't reverse.
Sometimes, if anything, like there could be a little more of those side effects, and not necessarily. I mean, it could be aggression. I just say aggression because people, correlate that sometimes with testosterone, but it shouldn't be that much. But there could be, let's say it's a dose that you take every 2 weeks. Like, it could be rather right when they take that dose. That could actually just give them energy, but then they might get a little more lethargic as the 2 weeks go on, and then they take their dose and it's like, oh, I have more energy.
I would go through withdrawal. Like, I would feel more tired and more anxious and less confident and more agitated. Like I needed it, but I was told that
you were becoming a boy or a man. I don't know when you transitioned, but yeah. I was becoming more aggressive when I was transitioning from woman to man. It was like I was going through withdrawal. No, you were transitioning to becoming a man. There are new hormones, new feelings you have to overcome, I guess. I've never thought of transitioning myself. How the fuck do I know that? And someone who has thought about it or have gone through some of it didn't think of that. How will this change me?
that's because my body needed those hormones because I was a boy.
Mm-hmm. A major point that many of our subjects touched on revolved around, quote, family planning. While suggesting the options of expensive alternatives, they made it clear that pursuing these gender treatments almost indefinitely leads to infertility.
So something that our providers do counsel families and youths about is about family planning, essentially, and what their thoughts are around that. There's measures that can be taken for things like preserving eggs. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it on 11, 12-year-olds, with obviously the asterisk being that a 10-year-old is likely not going to be able to say assuredly whether that they want to have kids in the future.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. And they save the eggs or the sperm in case they want to.
So if never just decided to go back. So some of these things, I mean, some of them are permanent, like, changes. So depending on how the body changes, it might not be able to naturally birth a baby. So there are other routes now. I mean, we've gone so far, with like in vitro fertilization and things like that, and there's even surrogates. So fortunately, like, science is there in that regard. I don't know, like, pricing and stuff like that, but if there's enough, like, changes to the physical body, I don't know if they would be able to, have a baby naturally speaking.
A 10-year-old doesn't necessarily think about family planning. I don't know any 10-year-olds, outside of playing dress up that might identify as wanting a family. But these are just questions, I think as you move further and further into the transition process, those conversations do become bigger, just to make sure if he did want to have a family, does that mean that, he would want to preserve his eggs to do that?
Through hormone therapy, there is, like, long-term possible side effects of, like, it is life-changing, and is difficult to come back from. It also requires both parents to be on board.
Really?
Oh.
It only requires, so here are my words.
Yeah.
We have to have one parent's consent. If we know that there's another parent who's not on board, we can't start hormone therapy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah. No, that's fair.
The medicines that I
If your partner is abusive, don't tell us. Okay, I think that's bad of her to go. I understand why, but I think it's bad. There should, however, be so maybe the ruling. This is the interesting. I just an idea. Maybe the father isn't even in the picture because he was abusive and she has full custody. And she told the nurse all of this and made it believable as hell. And the nurse goes, we still need the father's signature, unfortunately, if we know there's a father. Don't tell us there's a father when you come in for this. That would be my speculation as to how they got there. If it's shared custody, I don't think it's going to be easy to pass it by the father, who's going to be able to, get full custody at that point then. So that's my speculation here.
Are not magic medicines. They're not antidepressants. They're not going to change your thinking. They just literally change the physical body a little bit, or in the case of puberty blockers, they just stop those changes.
It's almost like she'll be a patient for life, that kind of thing. I don't know how I feel about that.
Now, that's an interesting thought. I mean, it depends upon what wants. I have a number of patients who, in the beginning, it's a lot of doctor visits because I want to make sure I'm not messing somebody up. I want to make sure they're not having an adverse reaction to testosterone or things like that. But, after a while, you space it out, and it's like every 6 to 12 months, which, is being a patient, but doesn't seem so bad.
So, these providers perceive that it's helping them, and they're like all fast track these young people. And, maybe sometimes it's coming from a good place. Like, they're like, okay.
But again, sorry, I continue to watch because I was waiting for the hammer to drop. I was waiting for something to come from this that I was like, oh my God. Yeah? We know this. Like I said earlier, we are aware it's going to be a lifelong treatment. And it's at the end of the day, this is a critique of capitalism, not of transitioning.
You know, after a while you space it out and it's like every 6 to 12 months, which, yeah, is being a patient, but doesn't seem so bad.
So, you know, these providers perceive that it's helping them, and they're like, I'll fast track these young people. And, you know, maybe sometimes it's coming from a good place. Like, they're like, okay, well, this will make this young person happy or whatever. But in the end, it's just very damaging, and it makes me angry that children are being used for adults to validate their own gender identity.
I also suffer from chronic pain. I have joint pain and also burning in my neck and my shoulders because I'm disproportionate now. My hips are really small and my shoulders are too big for my frame, and so it hurts to hold myself up. And then I have pain in my throat. I can't talk for super long periods of time, but worse, I lost my ability to sing. I used to be an operatic singer, and even in my times of my worst self-hate and depression.
So I'm guessing they changed as an adult?
I liked singing.
When you were sitting there with Dr. Gordon or any other doctors that you were meeting with pre-transition, did they warn you about not being able to sing? Did they warn you? Did you know it was going to affect your voice?
They lied or they were misinformed. They told me that I would have a normal male voice. I would have the same thing but be able to sing in the male range. What actually happens is the larynx grows, but everything around it does not grow, so it's crushed, and I can't use it anymore.
The side effects started.
Yeah, it sounds like if she's speaking the truth, it does sound like she had a bad experience here, a really bad experience
Happening very quickly to me.
But like, so they found one person out of how many? Like we can hear the same fucking stories with cancer treatments.
For some people it takes a lot longer, but I noticed them like very early on. And so the ultimate thing that caused me to stop was losing my singing voice, which was such a huge part of my identity as well. But I also suffered
What is
from
it with singers and detransitioning, and then going on right-wing media to talk about this shit?
Of health side effects early on.
I'm trying not to cry. It's heart-wrenching. It was always a shred of something I didn't hate about myself, and it's gone. I miss it a lot, and I miss, singing for my mom. My boyfriend has a little 3-year-old, and I wish I could sing for her the way I used to, but it sounds terrible. I hate the sound I make.
I am happy for the...
So I want to know if she wasn't told to live like a man for a while, like before hormones or anything. Like just present yourself as the way you want to present yourself and see how that feels before we try anything. Because it sounds like she was an adult when she transitioned. That's what it sounds like to me. So I am very confused as to why the clinic would allow her to transition. Either she's lying or that clinic needs to be shut down. She's in a Veritas video, so I'm leaning towards she's lying about something. Or they've edited it in a very bad way to make it look worse, like Veritas does.
The opportunity to share my story with Project Veritas, because I think you are doing some amazing work. I think it's so important to expose these providers that are fast-tracking children towards medical.
And that's like a proof they are lying. Like Kat Kattinson, that she is a grifter of the highest order. Anyone who takes Project Veritas remotely serious should be seen as charlatans, should be seen as grifters. They are not to be taken serious at all if they know they're speaking to Veritas happily.
And honestly,
Like, everyone can be fooled, but she just admitted to being the fool.
medical abuse. And I think it's appalling that children even younger than I was are being, indoctrinated and put on this conveyor belt towards sterilizing themselves and destroying their health.
Now, despite these admissions from providers and patients, legislation across the country is being passed to further distance parents from the decisions of providers on their children's health care. Project Veritas thanks those who came forward to share their personal stories with us.
2 people. 2 motherfucking people. That is all. Those are the people that come forward to talk to us. I'm gonna do one last thing before I exit. Whew. There's been an update in the Tucker Carlson case. We got a new Fox leak. In this behind-the-scenes video, Tucker Carlson talks about how he was triggered by Dominion's a lawyer who he calls a slimy motherfucker during his deposition.
Well, that was a week, I'll say. Holy shit! 10 hours. That slimy little motherfucker sitting across from me. Oh, you're the best. And I wasn't talking about you. It's just the opposite.
He's giving me a compliment.
No, I'm not. What do you mean? Because you've never been this affirmed in your life? I bet. Thank you, Alex. Have a happy weekend. See you, man. The amount, it was so unhealthy, the hate. Thank you, Teresa. The hate that I felt for that guy. I mean, thank you, Todd.
How could you not?
I never feel that way, because I don't put myself, I don't want to feel that way. I think it's wrong. It's bad. It's totally bad for you to feel that way. But that guy, I mean, he triggered the shit out of me. Where are you now? Where do you live? The amount of times I had, first of all, fuck you on my lips was like, it was unbelievable. Suggesting that I was cheating on my taxes?
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. So where are you domiciled? Where are you now? Do you own a home there? I was like, no, I do not own a home in Maine, which I don't, by the way.
Interesting. Colin says in the video that the deposition, which appears to have taken place that day, took 10 hours. Okay, he's just regurgitating the story. Okay. And then the serfs. Oh, I want to do one thing. Remove. If you thought the Steven Crowder story couldn't get any stranger, Candace Owens reveals that he was dropping into her Instagram replies. There's something about me you're hyper focused on. She's now inviting his ex-wife to come on her show and set the record straight. Didn't she ask to do that like day one?
Familiar with the idea of extortion?
Oh yeah, this is day one.
Then you know the feeling.
Okay. That's day one. That's my bad. That is my bad. It shouldn't have been in the bookmarks anymore. Okay, I'm gonna call it a day. I changed tires on my car yesterday because we don't have any. I should have done it a week ago, but there was or 2 weeks ago, but it was gonna snow, so I'm like, I'm keeping it until it's time. So yesterday was time, and I went up to my father-in-law, and he has all the tools. But last time I went to my what is it? My mother-in-law's father-in-law, because her brother, they don't have whatever. We used tools there. We used power tools. We used compressed air power tools. And I was screwing on the tires with that. Oh boy, did they stick. It took all my body. Especially my hands are completely dead today. It took my entire body to get those fucking bolts off the wheels. Like, it was crazy how hard they sat there. So now I am completely destroyed in the body. I haven't exerted myself that much in years, probably at this point. So I'm gonna call it a day. Maybe tomorrow, maybe otherwise Monday. Okay, I'll see you then. Bye bye. Take care. I love you all.